This is a big, heavy Carl Zeiss lens. It's a Jenna lens. And you can see there's some weirdness on the lens. There's also some little spots of mold on the inside. According to the serial number, it's from the 1940s. And I do believe this is from a big copy camera, like a room-size copy camera, not an actual photography camera that you would carry around. I had this up for like $300 because some of these old Carl Zeiss lenses sell for a lot of money, but this has some wear. You can see there's marks on here. And someone offered me $50, and he said it was a copy lens as well, a copy camera lens, and I think he's right. So he's like, it's not worth that much. And I bought it for $5 at a thrift store, so I'm happy to get $50. These are a lovely pair of men's Ferragamos, size 8D, chocolate suede, rubber soles. We had these up for $150, I think. Someone offered $75, and we were hesitant, but having a couple slow days, so that pushes sales. So $75, not bad. This is a new, never worn, 100% cotton, extra large men's cowboy shirt, rodeo shirt, definitely wacky. And it sold for $40. This is a vintage Dunlop wooden and leather handled tennis racket, and it sold for $30. Now, some of these are worth a lot of money. You can look at completed vintage rackets, and some of them sell for a lot, some of them don't. So I priced mine pretty low so that I could move them, which is what is happening. So this sold for $30. And on the exact same day that other one sold, these two wooden handle rackets also sold. I would love it if eBay told me better stats, because that's totally random. Or it's not random, somebody linked to them, or they were up on search, or they were on the front page, something. This pair sold for $36.99. This is a Girl Scout sash with a bunch of patches. We got this in Austin on Craigslist. This woman was advertising like a bunch of free stuff, and we were like, all right, let's go check it out. She ended up being a super hoarder that did not want us to take anything. Anytime she had like a big box of stuff, like take whatever. And then as we were picking over stuff, like, oh, I'll take this. This is so cool. Maybe I'll keep that. So we made a pile, and we were like, okay, thanks, bye. And we ran out of there, and this was in the pile. So we got out as fast as we could. Definitely very cool, early 80s. And this lot sold for $60. 3 more Camelback carriers sold on sale for $24 to someone at an FPO AP address. And I looked it up, and that it is in Okinawa, Japan. Very cool. A couple weeks ago, we had a McDonald's visor sell, and now a McDonald's hat sold for $25. These are a pair of very distressed but cool looking vintage men's army boots, combat boots. And I am waiting for an e-check, an international e-check from Canada to clear. It takes between 6 and 8 business days. So this guy's been emailing me like, come on, why haven't you shipped these? I'm like, your check hasn't cleared yet. So I actually might even have to bring these with us to New York so I can ship from there, which isn't a big deal, but they're kind of big. They're 4 pounds. And these sold for a best offer of $75. These are a beautiful pair of Ralph Lauren oiled canvas leather hunting boots. They're women's. I was watching our video from Holland last year, from Holland, the flea market, and we bought them there for €5. So that is an amazing deal. And I put them up for $250, and we just got an offer of $150, which is great because this week has been a very, very low dollar week, very slow. So we took it and they paid, so I'm shipping them off today. Okay, we sold this bed. I totally forgot to videotape it when the guy came to pick it up and left. I was like, oh shoot, I forgot to videotape that. So there it is. It is handmade. It was a rope bed. You can see these little holes here where they used to tie a rope back and forth and then across to hold the mattress. But it was converted to hold a twin mattress and a box spring. We bought this originally for the farmhouse, but we did not end up using it because we bought a trundle bed that pulled out and made like a king size bed, but could be a twin size bed sometimes. And we bought this at an auction for, I would say between $20 and $30. Nobody wanted it. I'm not sure why. It's gorgeous. And we sold it for $400. This is an old-fashioned can opener and bottle top opener and all kinds of things. And I think this just came in a box lot at an auction, just hidden at the bottom. And it actually sold for $25. So that was a nice sale. And yesterday, thrifting, I found one a lot like this for 50 cents. So hopefully someone else will buy it for $25. This is an awesome vintage Sunbeam flip clock, alarm clock. It's a little bit rough, but it's definitely an awesome style. And it sold for $60. So we just got back from our 2-week trip to New York. So I'll be showing you guys as much as I can of the stuff we sold while we were there. We sold over 60 items over 2 weeks in 2 stores. So this is one from 1982. Washington Redskins. I'm assuming they either won the Super Bowl this year or just went to the Super Bowl and this was printed in case they won. And this sold to someone in California for $40. This is a little wooden prayer beads rosary thing with 3 little fishes. And this sold for $25. Global shipping program. This is a necklace by the brand Monet, and it's this cool kind of lightweight satin finish, copper and silver chunky chains. It's really long, and it sold for $36.99. This is a Coric tray. It is like inlaid brass and wood. You can see the logo there, Coric. And I buy these all the time because I love them, but they don't sell for very much. This sold for $25. These are a pair of porcelain little jars. And the logo says 1933, and it's from Princeton University. Now this one is a little bit worn. But this one's nice. And I just found these at my local thrift shop on the shelf with all the, wine glasses and mugs and stuff. And they are real porcelain. And they're beautiful. I'm not quite sure what they're for. I don't know if they're ashtrays or something like that. But they sold for $60. This is one of our biggest sales ever. This was actually being sold for a friend of ours. I had it up for $3,500. It is vintage Louis Vuitton. It's got a serial number. The serial number says it's from 1986, so it's definitely vintage. It's genuine, and we took an offer from someone for $2,000. So we get 50% of that. So that's amazing. This is a leather ottoman. It's 18 by 18 by 18. There are quite a few scratches on it. We bought it at a thrift store for $20, and we sold it basically the next week for $120. So I have to go see in my storage if I have a box this big. I think I have a 20 by 20 by 20 box somewhere that I'll put this in with some padding. And I'll probably send it FedEx ground. $125. This is a Marlboro brand Lizard Rock wool hat. I don't know where Lizard Rock is, but someone bought it on Bonanza for $25. These are a pair of Doc Marten boots. They actually sold on Bonanza for $50. These are two hats that sold in our new store. They both sold for $36.99. This is an Audi hat and a Tam O'Shanter Scottish beret. Some more hats sold. This one sold yesterday, actually, for $15. This one sold for $25. And this sold for $30. Some more hats sold that were not baseball hats. This is a vintage LL Bean hat. You can see the logo there. Definitely vintage. This sold for $36.99. This is a linen newsboy hat by Country Gentleman. $36.99. And this is just a generic vintage newsboy cap for $30. These are two pairs of mini Tonka boots. We bought them in Amsterdam last year for €5 each. They both sold for $80 each. These are some women's shoes that sold. These are Joseph Siebel. They sold for $30. These are some vintage pumps. They're very small. I think they are size 5. But they have this cool, like, studded look. These sold for $30. And then these I've had for a while. I don't know what brand they are. Gerard. That's what brand they are. Leather bottom, and I took an offer of $25 for these. This is a vintage pennant flag from Disneyland. It's very cool. And it sold for $36.99. These are fold-out postcards from Las Vegas. They are from the early 1960s, 50s and 60s. One is dated 1961. You can see it has images of the casinos, stuff like that. They fold out, so there's a bunch of postcards to be used. And these sold for $40. This is a knife sharpening steel, and I had some crazy price on it because it has a fancy vintage brand on it, but I think I had $80 on it, and I accepted an offer of $40. So you can see the brand here, F. Dick, made in Germany. Now if you find a knife with this logo, it can be worth a lot of money, but the sharpening steels aren't worth as much, so that's why I was willing to accept a $40 offer. This is a new in the box Dell color laser printer toner cartridge for black, and we got this in a thrift store along with some other colors that were not Dell brand. They were generic, but this one by itself sold for $25. This is the vintage 1991 laptop that sold. You can see just by itself it's 7 pounds. This is what it looks like on the inside. I think the brand is Keynote. I'd never heard of that. It's got a floppy drive. It's got a little like smart trackball thing, kind of a mouse. And this sold to someone in Sweden, I believe. And it sold for $180. It does boot up when I plug it in. And you are able to do some stuff on it, so it's pretty cool. This is a straw, kind of funky vase or something to hold dried flowers or something like that. I have always thought this was such a weird, interesting piece, and I've had it for years. And I finally got an offer of $35 for it. I think I had it up for like $50. But I've never had anyone ask any questions or put any offers. And finally, when we were in New York, someone in New York gave me an offer of $35 and I took it right away. So I'm thrilled that someone is getting this. This is 2.7 yards of outdoor thick basket weave pattern fabric, and it sold for $40. This is a Ralph Lauren canvas and faux leather tote bag, and it sold for $40. This is a cheap little compass. We probably bought it for 50 cents, and it sold for $17, new in the package. This is a Thrifts point presser and pounding block seamstress tool, and it is solid maple, definitely vintage, and it sold for $30. I know that people collect piggy banks, so we saw this and grabbed it a long time ago. It was in one of our boxes of Doom, but it just sold for $15. These are vintage West German military pants. Pretty cool pattern. And they sold for $40. JanSport backpack. It is leather bottom, although I'm not sure if it's vintage. It looks vintage. It doesn't say made in the USA. But I took a best offer of $45. These are a pair of men's vintage patent leather, like high-heeled, funky loafers. And they sold for $60 on global shipping program. Beautiful vintage Pendleton shirt. You can see the original tag. Gorgeous. I just can't sell these for very much. We used to sell them for a lot of money in the beginning, but I don't know. There's just a lot of competition, I guess. This sold for $30. This is the seam roll that we sold. It's just wool and cotton. Sometimes they're called hams because they're in the shape of a little ham. This one, however, looks more like a pork loin. But it did sell global shipping for $15. Super vintage 80s or 90s Jordache fanny pack. Or a bum bag if you're in the UK. These are awesome. They always sell. And this one sold for $36.99. Global shipping program. This is a little tea cozy from England, shaped like a little house, like a little cottage. Super cute, and it sold for $36.99. This is a nice thick leather York weight belt, and it's in pretty good shape. We always sell these, and this one sold for $40. I'm shooting this over by the door because it's very dark in my office, and the camera could not pick this up because it is a little bit dark. It's Kingen's processed Swiss cheese box here. You can see there's the logo on the inside too. And I sold it to someone in California for $40. This is a lot of 7 Dymo label printing stuff. The label itself, the label cartridge, and we got a whole bunch of these at a thrift store. They just had a box of them, and this lot of 7 sold for $50. Great sale. Bright red vintage Samsonite train case. It's in a little bit of rough shape. You can see there's marks. I think I had this up for like $79. It's pretty good though. Some marks. It's got the tray. But I took an offer of $45 because I was excited for it to be out of storage. This is an amazing copper painted Native American chief, and on the back it says, "To Mom and Dad, love Edward." And the date is December 31st, 1955. Kind of amazing. And it sold for $40. This is a quilted pressed glass lamp. Probably from the 40s or 50s. Definitely vintage. Very cool look. And it sold for $40. This is a vintage fruit press I do believe it's from Switzerland. I couldn't find any like it online. And it looks like it's barely been used, so I put it up for $40 and it sold. This is a triple beam balance. It is a professional brand for scientists or doctors or whatever. Someone needs to measure something accurately in grams, and it sold for $60. This was one of the highest watched items in our second store. It is vintage, Scandinavian style little tea kettle. It's not marked anywhere. The bottom does not say Dansk. I thought maybe it was Dansk. This kind of looks like Dansk. But I had it up for $30. It's a little bit rough. There are some like dings right here and some marks here. But it did sell for $30 to someone in Sweden. This is a Taylor barometer and temperature gauge. It is real wood, and we try to get these a lot because people buy them. You have to make sure they work, and we love the ones that are real brass and wood, although this feels like plastic, but the corners are brass, and this is solid wood. So this sold for $50. This is a super cool 70s or 80s biker's helmet with awesome feathers on the side. And this sold for $80. These are a pair of bullhorns mounted on a piece of wood. Some huge fancy bullhorns sell for a lot of money. These are not super huge, but they are kind of cool. We took an offer of $45 on these. These are two huge Samsonite suitcases, rolling suitcases, and let's see, we took an offer of a total of $170 for both of them. So that's a pretty great sale. $170, two big suitcases, and I'm actually going to pack them together because it's cheaper. They paid like a combined rate for FedEx Ground, so it's cheaper to bundle them together and send them FedEx Ground. So I have some big boxes that I'm going to wrap around and use my strapping tape, the fiberglass reinforced strapping tape, and they should be good because they're luggage. So if they're wrapped up, they're very sturdy. This is a vintage Wedgwood cameo pin and pennant. You can see you can put it on a chain, and there's a pin. It's dated 1969, totally beautiful. I bought it for $15, which is higher than I normally pay for things, but I did sell this for a best offer of $95. This is a very heavy box of shoe shapers. I'm about to put it in a bigger box just so I can give it some padding. And this box sold for $70. This is a set of hand-carved kind of tiki monkey pod wood salad bowls. And I do believe I had these up for $59, but I took an offer of $40. These are men's combat boots. They are definitely vintage. And we took a best offer of $45. This is a vintage ABC Wide World of Sports mesh trucker hat. Amazing. And we put a very high price on this because it's very, very cool. It's definitely vintage. And someone paid $75.99 for this hat. So that was an awesome sale. This is a super cheesy 1970s, 1980s electronic detective game. Totally silly. But it does work. It's just like these little cards with like these little like number combination things. But it did sell for $60. I wanted to show you guys some paintings that sold that I packed up, got them ready to go, and then remembered, oh, I didn't videotape those. This was a painting that was 27 inches by 22 inches, so it was kind of big, and it was quite heavy. It was framed in glass with like this piece of, I don't know what it's called. It's like this particle board on the back, so it was quite heavy. It is from the 1940s or 50s. It is a watercolor from India. I do believe that there were studios of people just like cranking these out. On the back, you can see, so this is that particle board on the back. You can see there's a phone number that's from the, mid-century. 44697, New Delhi. So this sold for a best offer of $150. And this is the nude painting that sold. We bought it at an auction for $5. It's quite interesting. It's got a lot of wear on the bottom, and there are a lot of like dirt marks on there. But this piece sold for best offer of $215. And the last thing that sold that I have not pulled out of the closet yet last night was a Miller Lite neon beer sign. I think I had this up for $2.99, but I took a best offer of $150. So I've had this for a while, but it does work. I think we overpaid for it. Jay said we might have paid $40 for it. Sometimes these can sell for a lot of money. It just depends on how many are listed at the time, etc., etc. But I was glad that someone gave me a $150 offer. Now I just have to get it out of my closet, plug it in, and double box it. And that's it for this week. Bye.